And we are all live. Welcome back, Rhino. Welcome back, everybody, to our podcast. Thanks for watching. For those that do, a lot of softball last weekend. Rhino and I are going to start with the weekender. We had a team do pretty well on that, so we're going to talk about that, and then we'll get to the Ironman, and then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming tournament for WSL. So, first of all, congrats to Red, Rich Sellers, and the whole Tiger Fitness crew. Got second in the weekender. I think Red reached out to Rhino and gave him some info. Is that correct?
Yeah. He said they actually played really well. They're coming together as a team, gelling pretty well. They all hit. He said Sunday was absolutely miserable. He said he felt like no team up there wanted to play. He said it was weather that was worse than the Mojo, which I have a hard time believing that, but I guess wind wise it might have been. But he said Sunday was miserable, but they gutted through it. They finished second to an Amish team. As he said that, he kind of had that roll his eyes in his voice, like the Amish got me again. But he said they were up like 19-8 or something and just stopped hitting. And just got walked down. So, but congrats to those guys. He said his four all tournament team were Zach Durham, Nate Gamble, Spencer Gudafel, and Josh North. Apparently, they all had really good weekends. So, congrats to those guys.
No surprise there. The only one I don't know real well is Zach. Do you know Zach at all?
I'm not sure who that is. It could be one of two people. It's either A, the shortstop that they've got, or B, the young outfielder. I'm not real sure on which one it is.
Okay, sounds good. I didn't recognize any other D teams in there. Let me scroll through real quick.
Yeah, I didn't see any other local teams that were up there besides them.
Yep. Okay, and the C looks like Tiger Fitness went. Oh, there's your team you were talking about a little bit ago. Is that
Yeah,
them? Yep.
finished second to Frickers.
Yep. Young Money, not necessarily local, but I know they get on our board. They went 4-2. Tiger Fitness 2-2, and then Crewy's team SMU 1-2. So Columbus is tough, man. I think if you can win there, you can pretty much win anywhere because that competition is just as good as a world tournament anytime I've ever been up there.
Yeah, I agree. It's never easy when you go up there.
And then
Adam Adam Smith had an interesting post on the Frickers win. He said it's awful funny when a U Trip B team and a U Trip D team are in the finals of a C tournament. I thought that was pretty funny.
yeah, Adam is very knowledgeable. He's always pretty witty too, so I appreciate that. Looks like Zach is the Southern Kentucky guy and is their shortstop according to the
Okay.
comments there. So
Yeah, when we played them, he was definitely a player to watch. He could hit it, and he picked it pretty well.
sounds good. Savage, Lady Tigers, 5-0. Congrats to them. I posted their pick on the board.
I was looking at their roster; they're loaded.
Are they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Good. Hopefully they make a run at Worlds too and bring us home a title. Uh, I don't think I know anybody here. I think that's probably it. I don't think we saw any E teams when we looked last time.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So we'll move on. Uh, I'm gonna switch over. So, still not real slick with this yet. Let's see here. Iron Man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Congrats on defending the title, man. Congrats.
Big three team tournament. We played the pool teams. They were all E, so we played three E teams in pool play. Went 3-0, and then bracket play. Lost our first game. Then we had to come through and double dip the hooks. They picked up a bunch of the legacy guys and the Steve's C team guys. They're a pretty tough team. Mo's always tough. So even though lack of teams, it was still good competition, a good time. Cold. It was definitely cold, but yeah, we were happy to bring that title home again.
Who knocked you off in the first round?
Hooks,
Okay.
Hooks slash Legacy slash Steves. They had a good little team out there, and they got us, and then we came back there and double dipped them later on.
Who'd you have? Who stood out for you?
Lightsey hit over 800 that tournament. Sam, hit just
Yeah,
under
so
7. Pizza hit
saw
over 7.
saw a post where Sam was picking everything Saturday night.
He was. He got on those high noons and he was talking a little trash and fielding everything. So it was a good time, fun to see. And then let's see if I can switch over to the E. Anything else you want to know about the D besides Big 3 team tournament?
So with the hooks, who all did they pick up from Steve's, and where were the rest of their guys at?
So I can pull up their picture real quick. Give me a second. So they had Talon and Wilbur. They had Ibel. Let me grab this picture. You'll recognize a few.
Was Kenny Jones pitching for him?
He was, and then Wilbur was too. Every time we played him, Kenny was pitching.
I wonder if that's going to be their normal WSL team.
I don't know, because Steve's has a team in there this weekend, so I'm guessing maybe not, but maybe. Pull this up real quick. Come on, hurry up, Zach. Nikki likes to post a lot of pictures. All right, and I appreciate that. Let's see. Present.
The double dip, were the games close, or did you run away with it?
First one was pretty close. Second one was a run rule. All right.
What time did you guys end up getting out of there Saturday night?
I don't know. Close to 1. So there's Quinn. There's Wilbur. There's Steve Campbell. There's Quinn's brother. Apologize for his name. I don't know this guy's name, but he's played with the Raptors and Bellagio. I'm not sure what roster he's on currently. There's Dylan. Kenny. I'm not sure of that guy's name. They said he was from West Virginia. Mascari. This guy said he's from Finneytown. I don't remember his name. Don't remember this guy's name. And then there's Town.
So maybe 3 or 4 regular hooks guys.
Yep. I'm not. Oh, Cole Thomason too. Obviously, nice up and coming player. Yep. So they had a nice little team out there. I
How
tried
was
to
that
play with him and get out of there, and he wasn't having it, so we played it out.
How was the Mo team?
They're always good. They were missing their studs. So the guy that played on West Point, that played shortstop for him, he wasn't there, and I think they're missing another really key player. So it wasn't their normal squad.
Gotcha.
E. Dim Boys, they're from South Lexington, win it. Looks like Heat made a decent little run. Reapers, I'm not familiar with them. Made a decent run. OTF, nice run. Looks like they made a nice run through the loser bracket. Obviously, they're always tough.
Mm-hmm.
SUAP, I saw some people on there I knew. Nice run from them also. So nice little tournament. Weather wasn't great, like you mentioned. Saturday it was cold and wet early, cold later.
So what did the Natty Redlegs do this weekend?
I don't know.
The only reason I asked that is I saw a post that said it was late Saturday night, and it said, "What a weird way to lose a game." So I had no idea what that meant. So I didn't know if somebody could kind of enlighten me on what exactly happened, whether it was a controversial call or whether something triple play happened, aka Vordo or something like that.
Well, so it looks like there's a forfeit 7-0 here to Sick Apparel. So I don't know. Protest maybe. It's hard saying. Not sure. So yeah, we'll be here for a while if anybody wants to chime in there. And then
you say the team that won it was from down in Kentucky?
Yeah, down South Lexington. We actually played them our first game. They went 0-3 in pool play, and it looks like they turned out and came out and won the E.
Wow.
So congrats to them. I doubt they're listening, but I could tell they had a decent little team when we played them. They just needed to get their sticks. They played good defense, which always means you got a chance. They just need to hit a little bit, and it looks like they did. All right, and then we'll go on to next week, which quite a few more teams.
So Danny Lovelace said it was a double forfeit due to a fight or argument. He wasn't sure. So.
Okay. Quite a few more D teams this week. This probably would have been the better tournament for us to get into. Unfortunately, when you make the bracket or the schedule in February. It's tough to know that. So um, they got Breeden that used to be clutch last year, and then they got Deuce Pades, out of town team EOS, Huey, Mo, Nasty Hooks. Not sure what that roster is going to look like. Running Rebels, Shelby, Steve's, Tiger Fitness, and the D. So quite a few more teams. And then also right pad as well. And the E, American Made, Balls Deep, Dayton Jets, Exotic, Funk 1, Funk 2, Goats, Godby. You know who's on that Godby team? Don't you usually hang around with
That might be Burkhoff and them.
okay. Gold, Heat, Maxed Out, Nasty Boys. I'm guessing that's some of the old Nasty Boys guys. Not sure.
Okay. Yeah, that might be. Is that Joe Barnes' team?
Yep. Natty Red Legs, Players, Real Mafia, Rip City, Sick, Smash, Sting, Woodpeckers, Tribe, Wilson, CSR, and then you got a handful of rec teams as well. So that's going to be a great tournament. Congrats to Chuck and Bill for building something like that, and hopefully you guys have a good weekend out there.
I tell you what, when we played the Goats last year, and they were legit.
Yep, WSL's tough, man. You got to have a good team. All right,
Who's your prediction to win the D?
D. I'm gonna pull in Crewy right here. What's up, Crewy?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Mike.
My prediction for the D, I'll go with Huey Design.
You going with Huey? Okay. I'm going to take Tiger Fitness to bust out this weekend.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm not sure what are they mixing with the other Tiger Fitness team at all? Do you know?
Well, I'm sorry. I take that back. That's Red's team. So my apologies for that. No, listen, Red's historically known not to have good back-to-back weekends, so I scratch that. I take that back. I've been a part of that team way too many times, so I know how that song and dance goes.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to root for Breeden Construction this weekend.
Okay. Crew, you got a pick?
I don't even know who's in WSL. We're not allowed to play D, so I don't even look.
You don't even look? Okay, cool. Okay, and for the E, I'll go with Natty Red Legs. Bad weekend last weekend. They're gonna come out and win it this weekend.
I'm going to go with the Goats.
Okay. Sounds good. So obviously we have a guest here, Mike Crewy, and I went through a bunch of names and I finally twisted Crewy's arm and got him on here. So I appreciate you filling in for us. We're gonna say you're filling in for Chris Day.
I don't know. That'd be tough to do. To stand in Chris's shoes. I don't think I have the witty comebacks that he does, but
Gotcha.
We'll see.
So I told Mike that we're going to go through his background a little bit, and I'm sure you're pretty familiar with it. Do you have anything before I kick that off?
Well, that's what I was going to say. For people that don't know Mike, he has accomplished one of the greatest feats that I have ever seen in winning world tournaments in back-to-back weekends. One WSL and one U-Trip, which is very, very impressive.
It was. I mean, it was shocking. I mean, you always say we're going to win worlds, but to happen twice in a row, and I mean, just like you guys said, WSL, you don't know what you're getting. I know the year before we went with Kessler, Rocky, Bellamy, I'm even sure Reckhart was on the team, and we played C, and we went 2-2 and absolutely got crushed, our 2 losses. We went the following year with a young John Radich, a young Bobby Noth, some of you older guys you may remember, like Andy Shepard, played with, that ran S&S pools and all them. And I'm trying to think who it was. So I'm pretty sure Sorrel was there. And we just dominated in WSL. It's just one of them weekends, man, where not everybody was there. They were at U-Trip or something. And we had a couple of our Cooper guys that were down there that didn't even want to play. They kind of just hung out. And then we left, went down to U-Trip Worlds, and I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, in my opinion, the U-Trip World is definitely the most prestigious to win.
It's not easy. You got the best teams don't always win. It's never the best. There's luck involved. There's chemistry. There's a draw. I think a draw is 30-40% of how you win. I mean, we were looking at facing 4 or 5 conference teams, and I don't think we faced one. They just all happened to fall out as we got there. We had one hiccup on a big field. I think we lost in 9 innings, like 5-4. So I mean, it was bad. But it just had that feeling that when we got there Sunday morning, it was just, and I guess the best feeling, and it was actually 10 years ago this year. Best feeling is putting up 15, 16 in the first inning. It was kind of like you got to enjoy the last 5, 6 innings because it was almost a runaway.
And that was back at Disney, right?
It was at Disney 10 years ago this year. So I miss Disney, to be honest. I've out of the game for about 5 years, started to come back this year. Vieira is a nice place, but I think the atmosphere of Disney, I don't know. It's maybe I'm old school. Disney, I feel like is better than Vieira.
So let's go all the way back. How did that team start, and how did it get going? How did you get to the point where you could win 2 world tournaments back-to-back weekends?
I mean, we started somewhat out of high school, just playing E. I think we played E for 1 year. That's my biggest pet peeve is I always want to play up. So me coming back to the sport, and no offense to anybody, you got to play where you can win. But seeing teams in D in one association and C in another is just not something I'm used to. Just in my opinion, no. And hey, if your roster allows it, I mean, for a quick second, I looked at WSL and I'm like, oh, I got an old bat guy. He's won WSLC Worlds 95 times. They're not going to allow an old bat guy to play D. So, I mean, it is what it is. I had a bad run-in with WSL in 2017 with Super Friends. We were kind of told some rules, and then they were kind of bent when they got there for conference players. But I mean, you gotta play where you're competitive. And I know going to Florida or in Panama, everybody is at least a class down, and it's just the way it is. Locally, it hurts because there's really not a C program locally. And then when you get to the world, I don't know how many teams Panama gets anymore for C, probably 10, 12 maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 to 12.
That sounds about right.
But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of we started playing, and the great thing was I won worlds with 3 guys that I graduated high school with that we started playing. Lucky enough that they were at that caliber that could play C at a high level. You got to go the hard route, man. You got to take your beating some years. You just got to add. You got to keep a core, though. If you don't keep a core, and we always had a core and added 1 or 2 guys, but the game's definitely a little different now. I think I've been out of it since 17. Chris Day kind of talked me into coming back. I think it was a reality check because when I left, it was conference and I knew everybody. Then when I come back and, I start reaching out to people, they're like, I don't really know who this guy is. And the guy from Cleveland had told me, he's like, I really had no clue who you were. And I thought you were just somebody trying to reach out to put this Rum Dum C team together. And hey, that's fair. I mean, I'm getting older, I guess.
So what changed in that time from the time you left to the time you came back? What was different about softball during that time?
The amount of teams, for one. I mean, I think we all see that. There's a lack of youth wanting to come up and play. Obviously, the more associations. I mean, just straight up, the more associations, things get watered down. Like me and you talked, Zach, the other day. And I know it's a business, but next weekend is GSL State for C and One Nation State for C. So in a class where there's only a certain amount of teams, now we kind of have to pick and choose. Both of them told us, One Nation, you can play nationals, GSL, you can play U-Trip State, but, now you're taking a pool of 15 teams in Ohio and you're probably slicing it, probably not down the middle. GSL's probably going to get 4 or 5 at the max, and everybody else is going to go to Columbus. So it's the 4 and 5 team tournaments. Back then there was more teams, but just overall, there's Donnie Brewer's had a C team in Dayton while I've been gone, and then he went to D this year. But if there wasn't an SMU team, there wouldn't be any C teams in Dayton. For me, it's tough. It's just the lack of participation. Kids just don't want to play anymore or have better things to do. And I sit here as a director and tell you that the price of the game has gotten out of hand. It's $400 a tournament and hotel rooms. I'd reached out to Bill from One Nation, trying to see if we were going to switch from GSL State, and he told me that the fields that he had for Berliner this weekend, they don't have lights, so they're stopping at 6, so it's a 2-day. For me, that was like, nah, nope, no thanks. We'll go to Cincy, probably get it in one day. Just, it's the money, it's expensive, it's asking people, to stay in hotels for 4, 5, 6, 7 team tournaments for 2 days. Just not something you want to spend your money on this early in the year.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to bring this up. So you're number 2 in the state right now. Well, number 1 locally. Hornets got us beat, so I'm trying to catch you. Good start to the year. I know we had some back and forth on this.
How's that? How does this work? You beat it twice. I know one was One Nation, but the other time was GSL.
I don't know. You worked there, not me.
I'd have to take a look at it. I'm assuming we played more teams. I don't know, but you and Steve's are the team to beat, right? Steve's won Worlds last year, and you guys are hot. So I don't really ever look at those things. They're not going to tell me anything. I got a lot of young kids that probably look at it, but we all know you don't want to be a number 1 seed going into Worlds and play that team that threw together 17 B players. You don't want to be the last seed. You kind of want to be right in the middle. So kind of where we made our schedule, and I kind of want to stick to it, playing GSL this weekend just to get the points, because I'm sure it's double points, just to float right in the middle. But, from what I've seen locally, we had a good game against Steve's in One Nation. We had a big inning. It is what it is. We beat them in 1 inning. That was it. Other than that, they're still the team to beat in GSL, U-Trip, and I think you guys are too.
Appreciate that. Don't sell yourself short. You guys got a good team as well.
Yeah, we're young. I mean, we do have some young kids, and I got several guys that's played D for a while. So they're going to get there, but you can't get better if you don't go out there and play the best. Like you guys had mentioned earlier, I hear the rumblings here in Dayton. Why is Frickers playing B or allowed to play C? I mean, if you take 1 win away at U-Trip Worlds, I think they finished out of maybe 2. They finished out of being bumped. Frickers always been a C team. Are they really good this year? Yeah, they're playing really well. I think more so I'd be concerned with Schlauback Trucking. They can beat Frickers, and they're allowed to play 2 classes lower than Frickers is in U-Trip. They played Andy Young and them. I talked to Andy. Just they're a very solid team. Looking at their roster up and down, they should be a tough out everywhere. No matter, I have a Slugfest tournament in June or July. Regardless of the letter next to your name, I think they're going to be one of the teams to beat. for sure, and D across the board this year, and U-Trip.
If people have questions for Curry, feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll bring them up. But so a team like that, could a director? So I'm asking you, as a director, could a director bump them based on what they've done so far this year? Is that a possibility? I'm sure some people are wanting that.
That would be a Bradley question, Bradney. I think they tend to stay away from mid-season bumps. But I will let him answer that because I don't know the answer. I don't believe that they are going to do a mid-season bump, just like I don't think One Nation does either, because, I think One Nation's already got the mindset like, yeah, Frickers play your year out, but you're going to be B next year, but they're not going to bump them now. And I think U-Trip's kind of under the same mindset, but I'll let Bradney answer that because I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
And they haven't played a ton of U-Trip, and that may be how they go about it. They may only play a few U-Trip events, Yeah, we can see what they're doing in One Nation, but as U-Trip binoculars, you look straight forward, you don't see that. You just see what they've done in U-Trip. They came to Cincy and they won the cash cow, but I think that's really all they played. I think they are signed up for something. They were in my event this weekend and they were moving somewhere to play. I think they said they were going to Indy, so I think it is U-Trip.
Yeah, they're. I'm gonna get my shot at them this weekend. We're up in Columbus, Indiana, with them. If things pan out, we're gonna get to see them early. So
nice. Don't beat them. You may be on the bump talk week.
There's another team in that tournament that's 15-0, averaging 19 runs a game, giving up 9. Say they happen to win, that would put them at 21-0. You as a director, if you see a team's 21-0 in Class D, what are you thinking?
I'm asking questions. I'm starting to look at their roster. I mean, I sat through the appeal process. It's not easy, to be honest. And when you get guys up north that not a lot of people, U-Trip hasn't been big up north for a while. So, it's tough, like compared to Cincinnati, everybody knows everybody, and the people that sit on that board, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you, yeah, I did sit on the board. I mean, I have no problem people asking me questions. It's not easy. I think they have a common goal, and some people get upset. They try and do things fair across the board. It's going to make certain people mad. Just the way it is in life. You're not going to please everybody. So it is what it is. But, I mean, you go 21-0, I think you need to at least look at things. Especially if you win that and you beat another team that everybody's talking about, they hold their own with C, then you do. Then I've been away for a while, so then now I don't know if you get into the legality of things. Are they telling you they've already booked their rooms for Worlds? Have they already booked flights? That's the first thing that if I'm on a good team, I'm going to say, I've already booked my rooms. I've already booked my flights.
Send the receipts.
Yeah.
Now, for the record, I'm anti mid-season bump. So I wish them guys, because they're down in Kentucky, it's Buffet Boys. I wish them guys nothing but success. They got a great team.
Yeah.
To me, they're the standard in the D, and my goal is to be able to compete with that team. I hope they get to go to the Worlds, and I hope they get to do well. My issue is at the end of the year when they get bumped to C, like so many of these Cincinnati teams do, are they going to all of a sudden fold, keep 3 guys, win 2 appeals, and they're right back down to D?
True. So that was the first thing that hit me in the face when I came back this year. Is I seen what, one of my guys from Cincinnati had told me, hey, Steves is going to play C again. And I'm like, I don't know how. And they're like, they're going to drop everyone. Me personally, no, I'm just going to take my lumps. Like we won Worlds. We moved up to B, played conference. Didn't have a great year by any means. There wasn't a lot of B tournaments. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know their coach. I don't know their sponsor. I don't know if people were retiring. So it's tough to say. If half the dudes didn't want to play B and they wanted to retire. Me personally, I just couldn't do it. Like if we want to stay together, we're gonna give B a shot and see what happens. I mean, I've been in a conference where I've went 0-2 for multiple weekends in a row. Happens.
I can't speak for them, but I'm the one that kind of started that trend, so I'll take the blame there. So when we got bumped from C to B, majority of the team didn't want to play B because they didn't want to travel. They're older, they're kind of older guys, and they just didn't want to travel. And then I didn't have the funding to do it. So because again, you're traveling every weekend, you got to find somebody to pay for that. I can do a local team. I can't do like a regional or national team. I just don't have the funding to pay for rooms and travel every weekend. So it wasn't in the cards for us. I'm not sure what their story is, but I'm guessing it's something similar.
For sure. And I did hear a couple of the guys were for sure retiring, and I'd look at that in the same boat back in the day. If, I heard Josh Kirsten or Justin Evans or a couple of my studs were retiring, maybe we split up. I don't know. So, everybody has their own story. So I'm not going to judge anybody on it. I've done the conference thing and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's, we did a fundraiser, raised $17,000, had multiple sponsors, Yingling sponsor for like 8 or 9 grand. I probably still came out of pocket 15,000. Like it was not cheap. And this is conference 10 years ago where you don't hear about envelopes and nobody was getting paid. Like these were C players that won worlds. Like we're just trying to. And being in Ohio, you could drive to most of the events. You didn't drive to the duel, but the Smoky, Cincy had one, Columbus had one, Columbus, Indiana had one back in the day. Chicago's within driving distance. So there was a lot of conference events that were in driving distance, but it's rough, man. Conference is only for certain people. You either love it or you don't. Some people, want to get there. Others don't want to take off work every Thursday and Friday and get a late flight home and miss Monday. And it just, I had one of the better center fielders around that most of these kids probably don't even know who is, Brian Daniel. I mean, he was getting paid to play with the team out of Texas, but he had a daughter and his wife worked nights. So he had to drive his daughter to his wife's parents that lived in Toledo, and he would fly out of Toledo or Detroit. Late flights in, getting home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and turn around right to go to work. It lasted maybe 2 years, and at probably age 27, he just retired, and he still gets his his appeal still gets denied to this day. But I mean, it's conferences for some people, and for others, it's not. And the guys that have the money to do it. Rob Mahaffey was a great conference sponsor for a lot of years, and I had the pleasure with being with him one year on 3rd Street where we had an amazing team, names that are big names now, like Jason Matusik, Jason Magnum, Tommy Melton, Dave Kessler, both of the Noths. Like we meshed really well, played really well together. We had a good year, but at the end, at some point in time, you have wives that ask you like, where's this money going? It's tough sometimes to explain. I did see a comment from Josh Jackson. So 10 years ago, we ran a fish fry. I've tried to beat that into some people's heads in Cincinnati back in the day. We had a fish fry with about 1,400, 1,200 people in a building that held about 1,100 people. And we cleared just under 17 grand. It was a hell of a night. It was a great night. COVID's probably changed a lot for the fish fries. Cincy's such a big area. You can say you live in Cincy and a fish fry be 45 minutes on the other side of town. But I remember, Brew came up. There was some Cincy guys that came up that night, actually. It was a good thing. Dayton used to be really big with fish fries. I think they may have one or two a year now, but they've kind of went away. It was a great fundraiser, and we needed every bit of it that year.
I always heard about the Dayton fish fries. I never realized it was that lucrative.
Well, that one was kind of over the top. I freaked out all the time because it needed to be big. As much as we traveled and did things, and it probably snowed 4, 5, 6 inches that night. I'm like, there ain't no way. And this place just filled and filled and filled and filled, and the community helped a ton. But yeah, on average back then, you probably made anywhere from 8 to 10 grand on a fish fry. And as a D&E team, you're set for the year.
Yeah.
You're talking 10 years ago, it wasn't hit your own ball. Tournaments were $250. Uniforms were, some. I think uniforms were probably T-shirts. I don't know if there was a full dye type of thing back 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So costs were definitely lower for sure.
All right. You can start going through some of these questions. Kyle wants to know if this is your last year.
I hope not. We'll see. I don't want it to be. I had to take some time off, had some health issues, wanted to get some things straight. I've always been in the game, even with the health issues. I've been a director for One Nation, GSL, U-Trip. So I've not technically always been away, but there is a group of young kids in Dayton that can be good. It's going to take time, and they're going to take their lumps. But I think, it could be the next good thing. I'm not saying we're going to win any worlds because
Oh, did we lose him?
Uh-oh.
it's all
He's back.
somebody. My dad was calling.
Oh, okay.
It's all based on luck. Like I said, luck, draw, all that. But I don't want it to be. But I need to make sure sponsor money's there too, because I don't think out of my pocket thing works anymore.
Sell them, raffle them PS5s off again, man.
I don't have any more PS5s. I did have quite a bit. I have one sitting in the living room that has never been played.
Okay. I don't see, what is this? Dues paid, national bump. What is that? You guys know what that's about? Dues paid, national bump, and guys winning appeals to D Elite in the same off season. Was that a U-Trip thing?
Yeah, but Dues is out of Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So a national bump, when we sat down, if you're a national bump, it's basically 2 years before they'll really even talk about it. You got to play at least 2 years. And honestly, this is the first year I've sat on it. I don't really think there was a name, of an injury or something. I think there was a couple guys that came up, that tried to were a national bump and were injured, and I still think they lost their appeal, just because if you follow a rule, it's just easy to follow that rule. If you're a national bump for 2 years, don't appeal. I do know there was a few names that came up and that were in my area that were on Challenge Cup teams, and Justin Robinson from the Funk, he had ran the Challenge Cup team, and I knew that a couple of these guys he brought were just extras, courtesy runners, but you don't know that, and the next guy doesn't know that. All you see is the dude was on the Challenge Cup, and talk with Brad and you were like, it's just easier to deny them. They were not D players, but you chose, Challenge Cup by no means is a bumpable thing. But I also think if you're chosen to be on the Challenge Cup, you don't have much of a case to try and drop the following year, in my opinion. It's just, if you're picked as one of the betters and you're on that Challenge Cup team and you're going to wear that jersey, I don't, going to have a tough time trying to drop the following year.
What I find interesting about these appeals is if you look at who wins their appeal, the percentage of players that are right back in the same class that they appealed from the next year because they're on the super team that they can get on because they won their appeal is amazing. Like when a guy appeals for 1 year, he's playing D. Well, he's on the best D team in the city. He's getting bumped up to C the next year.
Yeah. Like I said, first year for me, sitting on it, just kind of soaking it in and kind of riding with it. And we need more people, to be honest, that are not biased. That somebody like Z Fly. I mean, why not? It's not easy because we are Ohio, and really, you get north of where I live and on I-70, you start to get into territory that nobody knows anything.
Right.
Columbus, it's one nation now. You don't have many Columbus U-Trip teams, so it's definitely harder. The more people, the merrier. But I don't. As far as the only name that I knew for sure this year that I knew he had appealed and lost, only because I see him on Facebook, was Chuck Kinney, and I knew that when he had won his appeal this year, and I think rightfully so. And Chuck's getting older, but he also was denied for several times too, and I'm pretty sure you were too, Ryan, for a while, weren't you?
I think it was 5 straight years I was denied.
So I was only there once, so we can say I was there the year that you won.
Brian Gay says they're playing in Kettering Saturday. Looks to be nice weather. That'd be a good chance to plug some of your events.
Yeah, so Kettering, the E kind of fell. That team's fall, but I got 5 in the E. But the D, Wellman Construction, the NOCA from Columbus, got Grizzy, Soul Bros, some of my better Dayton teams, Diamond Nation, who I think by asterisk default won the Slugfest, Corrupt, BOS Electric, BOS Electric and Wellman had a battle at 1 a.m. about a month ago, beginning of this month, and they're set to possibly play each other in the second round. So it's only 10 teams. It's tough here in Dayton. I mean, Columbus has got the turf. Cincinnati has a million parks. So to get people to travel to here, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. It goes back to my, money thing. If you got 9 parks within 20, 30 miles of you in Cincinnati, why do you need to travel to Dayton? So we're grateful for the teams that we have. We got a WSL Memorial, which is the same weekend as the City Slam. Memorial's been, 47 years helping Scott run it. They usually get anywhere from 50 to 60 teams. And then we actually I'm trying to do something. So the Slugfest was a Brian Johnson original thing in Dayton a long time ago. So I'm going to try and bring it back to Dayton July 8th and 9th, kind of do it a little different. I think, we can say Steve's did right, Steve's did wrong, or, whatever their name is now. I don't really have an opinion. It is what it is. They knew the rule, and I'm sure they didn't argue it. My opinion, it didn't hurt anyone, but they knew the rule. They still beat everybody in front of them. They beat us. And I knew they didn't play that next game, but you would never hear it out of my mouth until it was public. Because one, I didn't want it to look like, oh, they beat a C team, let's go, whatever. It was what it was. They beat us. They're the better team. Move on. They still were the best team that weekend. I'm sure they'll show it for the rest of the year as a good D team. So I ain't gonna say much on that situation. Nikki handled it perfectly. I looked at my email, I got the rules, said exactly what it said. So it's over and done with. But yeah, July 8th, 9th, I'm working with a guy from Cleveland area. His name's Bobin. He is the Make Softball Great Again message board guy. He also runs Nature Boys. We're going to try and get a big event to Dayton. I've got, I believe, close to 30 teams. We're looking at adding a B basically to the open, but doing a drop down C as well. But the way the old Slugfest work was, if Z Fly's team makes it to winners bracket final and they upset a B team or two, when they drop to the C, they should be rewarded, and they would drop to winners bracket semifinal, winners bracket final of the C. Obviously, it depends on how many teams we get and all that, but it's going to be somewhat of a twist. You know, you're going to be rewarded for the farther out you make it in, you know, the open bracket, as I think you should, you know, because if not, it's tough to reason why you're playing those games, you know, just against upper teams. So, you know, why not reward them if an E team wins 3 games? And, you know, hey, when you get an E bracket, you're going to be 3 rounds out. So excited to see, you know, to try and get something big back into Dayton, you know, and see what happens.
Okay.
I can attest. If you're if you've never played in a Cruy event, you definitely need to. He's going to tell you the truth. Whatever he advertises, he's going to pay you out, and you're probably going to get cash that night if you win the tournament.
You're not walking away without anything. It's that night. When I walk out, everything's paid. Perfect example, my E tournament was prize package was based on 8 teams. Aside from first place was paid state berth and 250 cash. Second place was a half a paid state berth or, you know, custom shirts. I'm giving out everything except for the 250 in cash. I'm giving out 100. So I'm 3 teams less, $150 less in the pool. When I figure the numbers and for the E tournament, as far as profit wise, I'm under minimum wage. Is what it is, though. I want to get events in Dayton. By all means, you know, it is what it is. I changed the bracket from a double limb to a 3 game for everybody, just because it's April, and I know how swings are important in April. Maybe not so in July, August, September, but we do what we can. You know, we know we're fighting an uphill battle with turf and Cincinnati, so you know, I post everything on my Facebook. Try and get over to the Queen City board, but I'm so busy sometimes I can't keep up with all these boards and post in and people post in, and I just lose it.
Yeah, I understand. I tried to make it so it's just all one. So hopefully that helps you somewhat. Chris Day says hi. So
yeah, Chris has an excuse. I'm sure everybody wanted to see Chris. He had I think Sunday he had his first kid, so
yeah,
he be out of commission for a little bit. He thinks he's going to be out for a while, but she's not going to want him around. She's going to want him out of the house soon. Yeah. So yeah. I think he thinks he's on the IR for a couple months. I think it's going to be a week or so, but we'll see.
Over under 6 games getting tossed this year. Are you a guy that gets tossed a lot?
I was 10 years ago. There was one this year, and it was raining, and we just didn't have very good shelter. So, and we were up 10. It'll definitely be under 6 this year. I'm 10 years older, Sacco.
Let me ask you this, man, because I know you've had some really good teams in the past. So, outside of the conference, who was the one team in Cincinnati in all your years running teams that you just hated to play against? If there even is one.
They got to be a Cincy team, or can they be right outside of Cincy?
They can be right outside of Cincy. Who's that one team that you just like, we got to play these guys again? This sucks.
It's every weekend. We were in the finals 8-9 years ago. It was us and the good guys.
Yeah.
You know, what was it? Hop, Boom played with them. His dad played a little. There's so many names I can't even really remember. Sandy played with them.
Yeah, they had an amazing team. I think they actually won a world out in Vegas in NSA that year.
Yeah, they were. It was just every single weekend. Year before we won worlds, it was just us two in the finals. Yeah, Josh said that Brian Stevenson, that was the guy who that incident happened in Louisville. I mean, they were just it was just back and forth every weekend. You probably got to be older. I mean, hell, I don't know. I don't know if any of them guys even play anymore. I don't, Hop was one of the ones that I remembered a lot, but I don't know if them and then also Northern Kentucky team, and this was more so on the starting of us being seed was 2 and out. Sean Sproles, who's the pitcher? That's a DJ.
Pompilio.
Yeah, Pomp. Like it was. We learned a lot from them. They were a very good team. We always had battles with Pure Romance. Some, some were some of the worst experiences of my life when the fight happened at MAB with kids, baseball kids there. I think that was kind of a turning point in softball for me that it wasn't worth it, man. We just, our mouths, both. I mean, you guys know Pure Romance. You probably knew us back in the day, just two mouths that just didn't mesh well, and it ended bad one game. And the crazy thing was, we were good friends. Rocky, Bells, I mean, we were all good friends off the field, but they were one team I just didn't want to see because I just knew they knew how to push my buttons and I knew how to push theirs. And with a Crewy in the dugout and a Feitner, it was never going to be a good thing.
So were you there with the Justin Evans bare hand at third base on a prominent player?
So it wasn't third, it was middle. Justin,
Okay.
So, and it was in the Cincy Major. I'm not sure Justin came out of the dugout with a glove. Or there was I mean, Evans still one of the best gloves I've ever seen. Would pick him up in a heartbeat. He's available for 2 weekends. But yeah, Field 3, MAB, Cincy Major, first game. Pretty sure it was against Pure Romance. He came out without a glove, played the whole inning without a glove, and made 2 plays.
It was impressive.
And I like that type of stuff now. Now it would be like, what are you doing, man? But he, honestly, man, he's what I'm missing this year. A vocal leader. He was the soul, the heart and soul of that team. He was just always vocal, always talking. Somebody that every team needs.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Sam Lawson last weekend. He decided that we weren't going to lose that tournament, and then his behavior and his actions carried us through by being vocal, and he just chose that we were going to win the tournament. And sometimes you need a guy like that. So I know exactly what you mean.
I if you know a guy, I need one. You don't even have to play. I'm too old. If I rant and raved around all day, I'd have a heart attack.
Yeah, I feel it. Did you have any more questions for Crewy here, Rhino? I have one, but I'll let you go first.
No, I'm good, man. I just appreciate you coming on. I'll let Zach hit you with one final question.
Okay.
All right. So, how do we make the B program work?
The B program?
Yeah.
It honestly starts at the bottom. My personal opinion, no matter how good or bad you are, there should be a limit, and it's never going to be this way because it's all about the dollar. It's all just being honest with you. It's all about getting the teams to go to Worlds, and E is usually where your teams go. But if you put a limit on how many years you're allowed to play E, that moves a lot of E players to D, and then that makes some D players way better than these E players, and now they're C, and it makes some of these C players way better. So I really truly think it starts at the bottom, with not having 280 team E world tournaments. But I just don't see it happening because we can sit on this board and we can be as stern as we want to be. But at the end of the day, if Ohio's the only one doing it, we're not doing you guys justice at all. We're just having you waste money all year to play D, to go to Worlds, to get beat around because other states aren't doing it. And it's just like if you get a uniform design, you ask 12 guys on your team, do you like this? Do you think all 12 are going to like it? Not a chance. You ever ask 12 people to like something, you're never going to get a unanimous vote the more people you ask. So trying to get 50 of the directors together to do something, it's just not how it is. I think we all have those states in our mind that just these teams just are never playing by the rules. I mean, the one that sticks out for me is Georgia WSL. I feel like every Georgia team I've seen WSL could play 2 classes higher sometimes than what they are. But it's everywhere. I mean, it's just, I think there was, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember their name. I think there was a team in California that won E Worlds, D Worlds, C Worlds all 3 years. It was either California or Utah, but they won it 3 straight years. They had made less than 2 roster moves each year. I think you may have been misplaced in your class 2 years ago. But locally, if we want to make D better or B better, you got to raise the E, which forces the guys that are in E to play D, forces the D guys to go to C, forces the C to go to B, and then, honestly, maybe change the chip rule for B or something. I don't have an answer because I don't know if there's ever really going to be. I don't know if it's ever going to happen because each state is ran by somebody else and they're never going to get on the same page. And it sucks because you don't know what you're getting into when you go to Worlds. It just, like I said, I had an issue with WSL 5 years ago. We were told no conference guys, nobody that was allowed to play nobody that was on a conference team or a conference tryout. So I left Jesse Solomon, Brian Daniel, John Radich, Josh Kirsten, maybe at home. These guys, they weren't fully in the conference yet. We get there and it's a mess. There's conference guys everywhere, guys that I've seen. I'm like, oh boy. That was the year OBAG won their first WSL by coming back. So they lost their first game. 2 games later, they were told the team that beat them was illegal, brought old back 2 rounds of the losers bracket into the winners bracket, and they end up winning Worlds. I've never seen a team be 1 game away from elimination to back in the winners bracket. So, and it was a matter of somebody in WSL told the Georgia team that they were allowed to have conference guys. Somebody told Ohio they weren't, and different playing field. So I don't truly think that it's ever going to happen, Z, to be honest with you. It's just, I'm not sure we want it to happen, to be honest, because if you move everybody accordingly and you get more B teams and nobody else follows, we're all just going to be playing a class different than what we should. And, just like everybody says and makes the joke about WSL, you always got to play a class lower. It would be the same thing for U-Trip, GSL, One Nation. You'd be you'd be outclassed every weekend.
Yeah, it'd have to be a national thing where they move up teams, more aggressively. But the only problem with that would be is they could run to One Nation or WSL or USA or whatever.
I mean, that's where a lot of the Ohio Northern teams went the last few years. They've all been One Nation. You don't see a ton of Amish teams in U-Trip. You're starting to now, but a lot of those One Nation teams just stayed One Nation. I mean, there's the Young Nation team, One Money. Like, they're Young Money, they're a hell of a team. Couldn't play with the roster they have. They cannot play U-Trip at the C level because of one guy. So it's just there's just a big difference, man. And I know every association does things differently. They run things differently, and so be it. It is what it is. People like to play certain events. Sometimes you only play events because they're in your backyard. I'm sure there's teams in Cincinnati that only play GSL and U-Trip because that's what's in their backyard. And the same thing for Columbus. Dayton, we're kind of a mix. We got to travel, so we can pick what we want to do. Our team, we're playing GSL Worlds. Like, why not play GSL Worlds One Nation for sure? They're in Columbus. It's 2 world tournaments in your backyard. But, ultimately, I told the guys at the beginning of the year, if you can't go to U-Trip Worlds, there's really not a spot for you. I mean, that's ultimately the world we want to go to that we know is going to be the biggest, the hardest. It's still the toughest world to win, in my opinion. It's any U-Trip world or it's WSLD worlds. I think those are the two toughest to win.
Yeah, I'm good with that. All right, one more last question. Challenge Cup. You were nice enough to let me go 2 years ago. This year you bailed on us, and we go out and win it. And it was unfortunate because that was a team that you helped build, and I would like to see you there.
Josh and Rhett give me shit all the time. I mean, you guys won, so I think you guys. I mean, I had more ties than I had wins when we went. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens. There is a reason that I'm not considered the coach of SMU. It is someone else. So if they do pick C and we were to be, our team was chose as the coach to coach C, that would go to Stags and not myself. But I think Ohio does need a major team every year just because, I mean, you've seen what Ohio had last year. We have some of the best players. Didn't show it the first few years. May have been because we had Wegman. Who knows? May have been Wegman curse.
Always.
But, I mean, guys played your ass off, and probably one of the best players in Ohio wasn't even there to really help you because he had to leave the first day.
Yeah, he was hitting 800 something and playing shortstop. It really hurt to have Big John leave. So, but hey,
I mean, I think you guys got to run it back. Tommy came in and led you to the medals. I don't see how Tommy loses his spot.
yeah, hopefully they invite me back again. I'd love to go. I think I'm all good. Rhino, you all good?
Yeah, I'm all good. Cincinnati teams, you guys need to travel up to Dayton, man. They come down and support our local parks. We need to go help Cruey out and plan some of his events.
Sure appreciate you filling in on short notice, Mike.
Hey, not a problem, guys.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Get easy, buddy.
Hey, guys.
See you.